Hello, YouTube. It is Saturday night, and we're going to try and play a little bit of Phantasy Star Online. So it's cool because it's a main gaming night tonight, so we should be able to find lots of players. I already put the shout out in the Dreamcast Now forum, so we should see a couple people joining on. In fact, one person has already responded back and told me that they're in Altamira, so it should be pretty easy to find someone. And if you see me looking at my phone, or not my phone, rather my watch, it's because it just vibrated. Apparently I just got another Facebook message saying that yes, we're on Altamira and we will see you tonight. So this is all the future, folks. I got one of these Pebble watches that connects to my Google Pixel 2, and it just sends me all the updates, and I just can't resist looking at it when my wrist starts vibrating. So that's what that's all about, if you see me look at it once in a while. But yeah, it should be fun. So let's just get right into it, and we'll just talk about some other stuff along the way. So here's the main gaming screen. Let's power up our Dreamcast and see who we can find online. Now, I gotta be honest, this should work. There's no reason why it shouldn't work, but I haven't tried my Dreamcast since I did a little bit of a modification to it. Some of you might have seen that video that I put up a couple days ago, and it was just a fun little video that I put together about a very minor soft mod, and it really wasn't a mod at all. Effectively, all I was doing was utilizing the 12-volt output of the Dream PSU that I installed into my Dreamcast to power some LED lights that I have inside my Dreamcast. And I don't know if you can see from here. Let's see if I can. Well, if I open it up, it's going to reset it, so I don't want to do that because I put in a lid switch as well. So okay, and just give me 1 second, guys. I seem to be getting some video signal issues. I just want to make sure that this is adjusted properly. Okay, hopefully that won't trip out too much, but it might. My Atlona, as great of a product as that is, has been giving me a bit of problems recently. I think that the see, there you go, it's cutting out again. Okay, I'm gonna try and bring that over to the other side, and hopefully it won't cut out. The HDMI port on it seems to be cutting out, so let's just switch this over like so. Hopefully that'll put enough tension on the HDMI output that it'll stop it from cutting out. We shall see. Fingers crossed. Okay, there we go. And it appears to be stable, so here's the wishful thinking. Right when I got my oh fuck, it's still cutting out, eh? This could be a problem. All right, let's give it another second. Hopefully it doesn't cut out anymore. This was a bit of an issue for me when I first got my Atlona. The HDMI port on it seemed to be a little bit fussy. Okay, so let me just try that again. Actually, I'm going to switch it over to the other side, and hopefully that will create enough tension until I get this problem resolved 100% on my Atlona, that the picture does not cut out. Okay, here we go. So far, so good. Oh, maybe not. Come on, big money. Sorry, guys. This is just more of the technical difficulties that you get to see me experience on this channel semi-frequently. If it does this one more time, I'm going to actually unplug the softbod that I was talking to you about earlier. And it appears to have stopped. So let's just assume that it's not going to be an issue for the rest of the night. That being said, it still might cut out at some point. So online games, Phantasy Star Online, Eve's PSO Disc 2. yeah, so like I was saying, I was just playing around with the 12 volts out, so I just decided that for fun, I'll just put an LED strip on the inside, powered off to 12 volts, and we'll just see about putting some backlighting inside the Dreamcast. And again, it's not really a mod per se, but it's just utilizing the 12 volt out of the new Dream PSU, which it's really nice. It does keep the machine a little bit cooler. My Dreamcast does seem a bit quieter since I installed the Dream PSU, and I think that might actually be because I cleaned out the fan. So it actually had nothing to do with the PSU in and of itself, but installing the PSU did give me the opportunity to sort of look inside my Dreamcast a bit and just clean it up and do a little bit of basic maintenance. Now, originally my plan was to hold off of putting in the Dream PSU until I got a new board in. I was waiting for my NTSC-UJ Dreamcast board with the liquid cooled fan. So it's a fan and it's got this liquid cooling pipes that end up going to the main CPU. So all of that arrived, but it ended up being a dead board. So unfortunately I had to return it and didn't install it. So I'm a little bit disappointed with that. So I went back to the original board, and quite frankly, the heatsink on there is great. There's really no issue with it. So there's no real reason to need to swap it out per se. So I put my original board back in, put the Dream PSU in. Everything seems to be working fine, no issues. I think I'll just leave it at that. I'm waiting for my Noctura silent fan that should be coming in probably in the next week or so. And hopefully I can install that and I will not hear a single thing coming from my Dreamcast. I'm pretty sure that'll be like one of the last mods. I am thinking about putting a Raspberry Pi Zero on the inside of it and seeing if I can get the line voltage inducer inside as well, and then I'll have basically a built-in Raspberry Pi or DreamPi into the Dreamcast now that I have the space. But if you are interested in checking out the soft mod I did, there is a video on the main channel page. It's probably one of the latest videos I put up, and yeah, you can see. So all right, let's see what's going on with these guys here. Looks like the night is still picking up. I saw 7 people on this ship. Generally, by this time, it's just me. So we played with Vertigo, just away from the keyboard around. Wow. Ah, gotcha. Well, if this were Diablo 3, I suppose sitting around collecting XP would be a thing, but I don't get the people that sit in the lobby for hours AFK and do nothing. Now some of you guys might have noticed that in the past, where you'll see players here, they don't interact at all. Clearly they're away from keyboard, but it's like, why are they sitting in the lobby? They're really not doing anyway. Anyways, yeah, Diablo 2 used to be bad for that. Best way to get online? Well, I would say the easiest way at this point is probably just to go to Dreamcast Live and purchase one of PC Wizard 13's Dreamcast kits. I purchased one of his line voltage inducers. It's spectacular, works fine. and no issues with it whatsoever. It's pretty cheap. It cost, I think, $25 shipped. That's $25 American rather. And after that, you just need to get your Raspberry Pi. There's a couple of really quick steps on, I actually, on the video that I made, I ended up posting a link to PC Wizard's modern video. It streamlines the process so much more. Gotta think, when I put up my video even a year and a half ago, it was still kind of the Wild West of DreamPi. Like, it was out there, a few people were talking about it, but nobody really had a clear process on how to use DreamPi, how to build a line voltage inducer, how to get everything set up properly. So when I put out my video, it was just accumulating all of the information that I gathered at that time, put it together into one concise video, and it helped out quite a few people. But since then, there's been quite a few different modifications to the process just to make it a lot easier. So I would suggest watching PC Wizard's video. There's a link in my video to get there, or just go right to Dreamcast Live and buy the kit from him himself. It'd probably save you a bit of a headache, unless of course you like tinkering around with this kind of stuff, in which case by all means build one and go through the steps that are available on my channel and PC's channel. But again, just to kind of get on there quick and not really have to worry too much, I would suggest just buying a kit directly from him. So alright, let's see what rooms are open. So Vertigo, oh cool, Titan Guy's here, and somebody else I think is just sitting around. Okay, so what do we got? We got an ultimate team and 2 normal teams. Feel like joining the alt team TG. Alright, let's see if Titan Guy is going to join us. And this guy is a GameCube player, I think, because he has that. Well, I'm going to join. Okay, cool. So let's jump in, join Yakina, and let's see what we can find online tonight. All right. Cheers, everybody. So in terms of, generally I do like pickup section. I gotta admit, it's been pretty dry this week. Not a lot has been floating around out there that I could find. And I think it's just after the holidays, then, you know, everybody kind of gets a little bit drained of thrifting and stuff like that. So like, I didn't see a lot of really cool donations out there, but I did find this one thing that I like the sim games, especially the original sim games. So I did find a copy of Sim Earth boxed, you know, $3, not too bad. It does come with the original floppy disks, but not the CD. I also have the CD, and you can get the game pretty easily online as well. So I figured, hey, why not? It comes with a pretty cool manual and stuff like that. So that is about it for pickups, to be quite honest. And I'm okay for it. I've got so much stuff I'm really trying to purge at the moment. I'm down for CC. It's only up for another few days, right? Yup, sounds good. Alright, sweet. So we're going to do a Christmas catastrophe. So let's get ourselves positioned by the guild counter. Now, Eve said it's done on the 1st. I suppose that makes sense. Okay, and here we go. We're loading Christmas Catastrophe. So yeah, there's a good chance this will be the last time we see Christmas Catastrophe for the year. Get a lot of cool stuff from that quest too. Okay, UGB, I'm glad you've come. I'm Santa's head elf, Melvin, and I'm in terrible trouble. See, I'm in charge of giving the Santa the list of goods for little boys and girls each year, but this year Pioneer 2 government confiscated the list. They tore it up in pieces and locked away the data in the mine. Please, UGB, you've got to get back the list. Without it, we can't have Christmas on Pioneer 2. The soldiers won't. No, I won't go into the mine. So I think their computer security is weak. With your amazing ranger skills, I bet you can break into the database and retrieve the list. They ripped it into 4 pieces, so I bet there will be 4 computers you'll need to find. Leave it to UGB. Get all of the pieces of Santa's list back for me. Okay, so we know the story. Get the 4 computers and get the list back to Santa. Now, we might actually get a level up as well. That's pretty cool. My mag is totally unsynced, unfortunately. Not too happy about that. And we're only at level 12, so it's going to be a painful grind. Now, do we have enough dimates in here? Oh, we got 10. Okay, so we're good for a while. We got a couple of grinders. Okay, let's use these guys just to free up some space and also give us a little bit more of a chance to survive. The last couple of games, you gotta admit, it's been pretty painful. Unless we've got somebody on there who can use a lot of tech. I've been playing with a lot of rangers and droids and stuff, and just having too many droids on one team is not a good balance. Alright, so let's just tag these guys and see what happens. So I probably should switch back to my other mag at some point. Okay, never mind. They've oh shit, I'm still really not doing very well. Okay, if I just use my normal attack, I seem to do a bit better. Maybe I won't use my heavy attack. I heard somewhere that the combo I should be using is light, heavy. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Light, heavy. That seems to be doing a bit more damage. So let's just stick to that combo for the next little while. And moon atomizers are going to be very useful at some point, because we're constantly reviving our teammates. And this is also an area that causes us all sorts of frustration, because there's a lot of insta-deaths in here. Okay, anything we can use there? Star atomizer. Why not? Bang, bang, bang. Okay, tagged them all. Good stuff. And are we going to get any goodies here? Probably not. Oh, there's some Meseta. The one thing I was wanting to bring up, actually, is a little announcement that was made by Retrobit recently. So Retrobit is a third-party company that I'm sure you're all very familiar with. They've been around for a while, and they make a lot of very popular third-party accessories for older consoles. If you're using the Dreamcast, odds are you're probably using a Retrobit VGA box. And okay, where did everybody go? Oh, they're all in there. The reason for that is that the original Sega Dream box will cost you several $100s probably, which is out of the price range for the majority of people. And the Retrobit box is about $50. Now there's also the highest box that came, or not the highest rather. I do have a highest, but that's been out for some time. There's also the Harris Brothers, I think that's how you pronounce it, box, which is quite good, but it's a bit more pricey. It's about $100, and it has a scanline generator, which is kind of nice. But most people probably bought the Retrobit box, and they've made accessories for quite a number of consoles over quite a number of years. A lot of cables and things like that. Third-party stuff, like little odds and ends that you always end up losing or end up breaking, and you just need to get replaced. And they've taken it upon themselves to be the people that replace it. Okay, fair enough. The console that they've never really tackled are the Sega consoles. They've done stuff for the Sega Genesis. They've never really done anything for the Master System. They've never really done anything for the SG 1000, which is fine because there's really not much you need for the SG 1000. But they've never touched the CD, they've never touched the Saturn, they've never touched the Dreamcast. And that's disappointing for a number of reasons. In particular, the Dreamcast, because there's so much potential there. But that being said, their absence in providing third-party support for the Dreamcast has also meant that the community in and of itself has picked up the slack. There's a guy that, I own it, he makes Bluetooth controllers. He takes the existing controller and puts a Bluetooth unit into it. It works quite well. I enjoy that controller. I don't use it for up here because, I'm so close to my console. Anyways, it doesn't really matter if it's wired or Bluetooth. But there's also, of course, the third-party VGA boxes that have come out, which are quite nice. There's the third-party Akura box, which works quite well on my television, although it doesn't work great for capturing. There's also things too, like the DreamPi in and of itself. There's also the GunCon, which is the gun that you can use on modern-day televisions to play games like House of the Dead. I'm trying to think what else. Well, of course, there's the USB GD-ROM. There's the GD-EMU. Hey, welcome aboard to the live stream, which has been around for ages as well. There's quite a bit of third-party support from the community, and I'm just wondering what Retrobit can offer. I would hope they have some really interesting, unique plans for the Dreamcast. What I don't hope they do, and this is my big worry, is that there's so much third-party stuff that's been developed by the community. It's all open source. I hope they don't take that open source I hope they don't take those open source accessories and just try to rebrand them as their own without, licensing it properly from the original people that made it. Hopefully they do that if it does come down to that. You never know, like I could be being a little bit dramatic about the situation. The advantage to that, of course, would be Retrobit has the capacity to produce this stuff on such mass quantity that it would be significantly cheaper than the stuff that's available currently. The stuff that's available currently is quite expensive to get because it's generally done by a small group of people, if not just one person, and the production costs cost a lot. Like if you are hand making hardware and you're the only person that's doing it and you're not really going out and getting other people to do the work for you, well, it's going to cost you a lot to produce that stuff. That's just the nature of business. Like materials wise, it maybe doesn't cost as much, but you also got to take into consideration the time it takes to develop it, the experimentation stage and everything like that. You're making prototypes, and just the time it takes to actually put this stuff together. Like it's not put together in one night. Sometimes it takes quite a significant amount of time in order to produce this equipment. So that would be one advantage, but again, only if it's properly licensed. My big worry is that they're going to take this open source stuff, rebrand it, not give credit to the original developers, and sell it back to us. And it might seem like a good idea at first. It might seem like it's, if I can get something cheaper somewhere else, why wouldn't I do it, right? The Walmart philosophy of buying retro third-party accessories. But it also really stifles the creativity of the community too, if it comes down to this. Now again, like I could be totally off my mark here, and maybe they won't do this at all, but I suspect that there's so few things that Retrobit can do, particularly for the Dreamcast, that haven't been done yet, that they're going to be modeling their designs off of existing projects, if not just taking the projects completely over. So that's my sort of like, I don't know what you want to call it, just over paranoia of this new announcement from Retrobit. see what happens. Maybe they'll come up with something completely unique. I really wouldn't mind if they maybe reverse engineered a couple of things. Like if you could reverse engineer, let's say, the USB GD-ROM, or even the GD-EMU for that matter, and somehow get it to run Dreamshell natively and effectively. Now that would be cool. Right now, you've seen me try to run Dreamshell. Unfortunately, you can't run the games from Dreamshell, but you can run Dreamshell from the USB GD-ROM. Having the ability to run Dreamshell as your front end from the USB GD-ROM and play games would be great. And the reason it would be great is that it's just a nicer graphic user interface. Like I do enjoy the simplicity of the USB GD-ROM, but to have some graphics and some other detail, the ability to use a mouse, for instance, like that would be spectacular. Just in terms of just navigating around, it would feel more PC familiar, I suppose. But you know, I couldn't really see them doing it, to be quite honest, because I think it would be such a laborious and expensive task that they probably wouldn't find it financially sort of feasible to reverse engineer this stuff, and even using things like Dreamshell. Like I'm not 100% confident that they're even familiar with Dreamshell. I don't know if they've really investigated 100% what they're going to do with these new Sega products. That being said, it's not just the Dreamcast. The Sega Saturn, a console that I'm not 100% familiar with. Now, I've owned one. I never really got into it because the same reason I ended up selling my TurboGrafx 16, I did end up selling that, is that it's a system that I've always been curious about. It's a system that I've always really wanted to own, but owning it is only part of the battle. Then you've got to get games for it. And unfortunately with the TurboGrafx 16, as much as I would like to play that again and get some of my favorite games back, the entry point to getting games is just so expensive that it didn't make sense for me to have it. I know that you can get a TurboGrafx 16 flash card for relatively cheap, about $80 to $100. That's great, but if I'm gonna go that route, I figured I might as well just emulate the system, and I probably play it more on an emulated system than I would with having a flash card anyways. And the reason I say that is that, for instance, I have my PSP modded. I've talked about that a number of times. A lot of you people are very familiar with how easy it is to use custom firmware on the PSP. It's not terribly difficult. It's been out forever. But unfortunately, I was late to the game with that and only became familiar with it recently. So it is a fantastic piece of software to load, or piece of firmware to load, if you want to run a lot of emulators. And I've been playing a lot of TurboGrafx. I've been playing a lot of Sega CD, actually, is what I've been playing the majority of. And you know, I've never really got into the Sega CD back in the day. Of course, it's like everything else. I might be sounding like a bit of a broken record here, because I feel like I've discussed similar circumstances like this a number of times, but there were a lot of systems that I just didn't have the opportunity to experience for one reason or another. Sometimes it was just a stage in my life where this stuff wasn't particularly available. Other times it was just, you know, just out of gaming and just really wasn't familiar with it. Now, growing up in North America, really hard to get into like things like the Saturn back in the day because it just was so poorly marketed. I could barely remember a commercial marketing the Sega Saturn at all when it first came out. There's definitely tons of Nintendo stuff. Always knew about the Nintendo 64, always knew about the Super Nintendo, things of that nature. Even the Virtual Boy to some extent. Like, there was always promotional material for it kicking around. But I don't remember anything about, oh, come on, no. Can somebody bring me back? That would be lovely. How did I end up dying? Sorry, where was I going with this? So yeah, I felt for the entry point in it, I might as well just kind of sell it. So I have owned a couple of Saturns, and I know that right now the Saturn emulation software isn't 100%, but they've also cracked the Saturn recently, so hopefully that'll get a little bit better over time. But it would be interesting to see what they do with it. Now, I have looked online, and just like the TurboGrafx, like there's a ton of different third-party accessories being built for that already, and the same applies for the Saturn. People have been doing things like RGB mods for it. People have been doing things like disk emulators and stuff of that nature, which is great. That's exactly what the system needs. The system needs to be playable and usable, and give you other options to play games when you can't necessarily afford the games, right? So I was looking at things like CD emulators for the TurboGrafx 16. I thought to myself, okay, well maybe I can do that because I'd really like to play things like Eves 1 and 2 on the TurboGrafx 16. And my CD-ROM worked perfectly. I ended up fixing it up quite well. But again, it was like, I can emulate this pretty well. Like, I mean, I don't really have any frame of reference to say otherwise whether or not it's being emulated properly. I imagine there's something, I imagine there's a little bit different than playing it on a television, but for me, just to experience the game, I feel like it's enough. And the system's been out for quite some time, and I'm not one of those people that really cares too much about pirating, because I've spent a lot of money on games. I spent a lot of money on games when they were new, so it's not like I haven't contributed to these people releasing the games. And quite frankly, it's like, even to buy them, it's not like I'm supporting the original developers or anything like that. Anyways, all I'm doing is just paying somebody for the markup on a collectible game. So again, I just weighed the pros and cons of getting a flash cart and just decided, you know what, maybe it's best if I just don't keep the console. So I sold it. And again, it goes back to the Sega Saturn. I did basically the same thing for that as well. I just couldn't really see a good entry point that made sense, and to actually have another console sitting on a shelf that I would play probably not too regularly. I'd probably show it off when friends showed up, but beyond that, I don't think I would really get into it that much. It wasn't a console that I was brought up with, so I don't really have that much attachment to it. Like I can pick up and play Final Fantasy 1 any day of the week and have a great, that's too quick. Have a great 6-hour experience beating that game. But it's because I grew up with it. I can tell you the very first copy I had of Final Fantasy 1. I can remember I got it for Christmas. I believe it was around release, so probably around 1992, 91, 92. And I remember it because I asked for it for Christmas, and my mother and father didn't really say much about it. And of all places, I bought this game. Now, you'll never see this anymore. I bought this game, or didn't buy this game. I was in the Canadian Tire. Now, if you're not in Canada, you don't know what that is. But that's essentially just a hardware store. And they used to rent movies from there. They used to sell video games, all that kind of stuff. And we were sneaking through the, not sneaking rather, but I think my mother was trying to sneak it through the checkout. And I could see something under the bag, and I saw the box and I recognized it right away. And it was a copy of Final Fantasy for the Nintendo. And I remember the price tag on it, and I was like, oh, my mom must like me after all, because that's an expensive game. It was $88. Which even by today's standards is way too much for a game, but back then that's just what it cost, I suppose. So anyways, got that game. I remember seeing a friend play it. I was very excited about it. Never saw an RPG like that before in my life. Big interest of mine was the fact that a lot of the games that I played previous to that were Twitch-based games, and people liked fighters, especially when the Super Nintendo came out. People loved their fighters. And, I was just never really that good at fighters. I tried to be, but I was just never really that good at them. And because of that, I was always kind of dissuaded from playing certain games, like especially when Street Fighter 2 first came out. I can remember I had a friend who bought that. He pretty much mastered that game. He had every combo. He used to read SWAT. He used to read Nintendo Power. He learned all of the tricks inside and out. And you know, we all knew Blanca was a really good character for that game, but when he figured out how to master the combo, sweet, we got a level up, guys. 113. Merry Christmas to me. It wasn't fun. Like, you didn't even have a chance. You'd immediately start up the game and he would just do his combo and you would be backed into a corner and you would die. Not a lot of fun. So play a single person experience, come on, RPG that didn't involve a lot of twitch reaction, that you could play on your own. It was fantastic. It was just what I needed back in that day. And the first time I played it, I really drug it out. I really wanted to like maximize the experience and see how much stuff I could find. There was like really only one side quest that you could complete in the original Final Fantasy, and that was to get the adamant sword, really. And that's fine. That's all well and good. There are certain limitations to the original NES hardware and the original NES games, so you can only do so much, but it's still a fantastic RPG. I'm sure I don't have to mention this. I'm sure the majority of people have experienced Final Fantasy 1, at least at some point in their lives. But I can remember when I first got it, I played it for quite some time, and I think I put it down around before I even completed the first Fiend. And I don't remember exactly why. I think I got lost somewhere, or I didn't level. No, I know what it was. I can remember now. I put it down because I built my party very poorly. I had a party of all fighters for some reason. I was a dumb kid. I thought that would be a good party to put together for some reason. I think I remember seeing a friend have a party of all fighters, so I thought that was the way to do it. And the game was kind of just boring and not very fun. And then I can remember picking it up a few years later, maybe a few months later, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, and I changed it up a little bit, and I remember not liking it at first because of a silly reason of, like, when you diversify the party, obviously your characters are a little bit weaker, although they can do different things, and you don't think about the long-term game. Like, you don't think about, you know, having a thief now, which is kind of weak, but then when he becomes a ninja, can use all these specialized weapons and becomes quite strong. Or, you know, a black belt, for instance, who, you know, if you don't equip him with any weapons, is extremely powerful, particularly later on in the game when he goes through his little growth spurt. So little things like that I just didn't quite understand back in the day. I used to play a lot of tabletop RPGs, so I should have really understood the basic concept of it, but for whatever reason it didn't click with me with the original Final Fantasy. So at one point, I think it was 15 or something like that, I just decided, okay, I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to play it, I'm going to beat it. And I beat it for the first time, and it wasn't nearly as difficult as I thought. The last stage is a bit daunting because you've really got to have a powerful party in order to make it through all the fiends for a second time, and also make it to Chaos and beat up, beat him. He's quite a strong character. But if you do have a party where all your characters are past like level 35, it's actually a pretty easy game to fly through. So I did that, and then since then I've diversified the party system like so many times. I've never gone full kind of full hardcore where I've had like a party of all white mages, but I know that that's possible. Maybe one day I'll do that just for fun, considering I've done everything else every which way. But gonna use our TP, and it looks like somebody might have donated. Cool. So that game, for instance, has a lot of nostalgic value for me. I played it a lot as a kid. I played it a lot over the years. In fact, I think the most recent time I beat it was probably less than a year ago now. And I played that when I had it emulated for my 3DS. Just ran through it just for fun. Something to play on the bus. But some of those older consoles I just don't have any connection with, and the Saturn is one of them. Now, I've also mentioned I never grew up with the Sega Dreamcast, but you know, if you're a person who enjoys video games and you've never played the Sega Dreamcast, I can almost guarantee you, if you pick one up for the first time, you are going to fall in love with this system. I'm a person who enjoys video games. I'm not particularly good at them. I don't think a lot of people that are honest with themselves are particularly good at video games, but most people like them for whatever reason. And the Dreamcast, when I first experienced it, was one of the first consoles that I was introduced to sort of fresh and just immediately gravitated towards. Some people hate the controller. I love the controller. I think it's great. I think the curved pads where you hold your hand, even though some people find those to be a little uncomfortable, I think they're great because you can really put a lot of pressure on them. And especially when you're in tense situations, you can really rip at it, and it allows for a good contoured grip. Some people don't like the fact that the controller wire is below the controller instead of above the controller, but again, I don't really mind that much. I think that's fine. The VMUs, like, those are... Oh shoot, I forgot to go in here. The VMUs, those are brilliant for the time. And in fact, recently somebody released oh shoot, we gotta use some of our items. Let's use power material. Okay, where are we? There we are. Bang, okay. We gotta go in here, we gotta get the other part to the Santa's list. There we go, and we completed it. Perfect. Cool. Okay, so we got a Christmas card, and let's give those to our friends. Yeah, so I didn't mind that, and recently, like I said, there's been a release of Pokemon Go, of all things, on the VMU. Apparently it's got a very large roster of characters that you can even choose from, which is kind of fantastic when you think about it. The only thing about the VMU, if you haven't experienced it, is the battery really sucks on it. So hopefully, you know, somebody figures out a decent mod for the battery. Like, I've seen people doing external, like they'll put a wire out to the terminal and they'll run like a couple of AA batteries of them, but that defeats the point. I think there needs to be a decent rechargeable lithium-ion battery in there somewhere that you can use. So, okay, Christmas cards. Let's drop off our Christmas card as well. Use. Anything else we can use? Anyone else need a Christmas card? I dropped one off. Advantage to the Rumble Pack. So this is actually the Mad Catz Rumble Pack, and there's really no advantage to it other than that it's effective, responsive, and it has the red light, unlike the original Sega one. So I swapped it out just because I like the red light. Alright, so let's get rid of some of this crap here. We don't need any antidotes. We'll keep some of those. We should probably get rid of some of our grinders as well. Let's see if we can donate those. Do we need those? No. Okay, cool. Let's just... I'm good on cards. Okay, it looks like everybody's good on cards. Okay, so let's feed our mag while we're thinking about it. cool. We got a level up. There you go. Titan guy can use all the cards. Perfect. Right on. Enjoy. Okay, he has 4. What do we got here? HP material. You know what? I don't know who those are dropped off for, but I think I'm going to take them. Okay, so let's go to the guild. Hey, Kyler, I'm doing alright, man. Okay, perfect. Let's get some more power material. Perfect. 1 day left to do it. Alright, so did Titan Guy grab the rest of the cards otherwise? No, he did. Okay, cool. Otherwise, we don't want those to go to waste. We'll use those for the next quest. Okay, so let's use up power material, HP material, and HP material. Sweet. And can we feed our mag one last time? No, we can't. Alright, well, let's just check out here. We got photon points. And there we go. Christmas Catastrophe is done again. Alright, so we're going back to the lobby. And let's just have a quick chit chat with people, see what everybody's up to. Wow, we got a full house. Sleep is on. Alright. Good game, everybody. Nice and efficient. See you all tomorrow. Night. Okay, so let's save 1. And let's get out of here. Disconnect. Perfect. Cool, so it's saving. And there we go, we are done. So there you go, that was Christmas Catastrophe for tonight. We're going to do that one more time tomorrow. I'm going to log off for tonight because I've just got a couple of things I have to do before the morning. But again, I appreciate everybody watching and everybody who's contributed, and a couple of donations that have come in recently. That's been really spectacular, so I really appreciate that. We are trying to keep Phantasy Star Online alive, guys. So, you know, I'm doing my part. Anyways, everybody have a good night. I will see you tomorrow. I know it's New Year's Eve, and, you know, I'm a family man, so I will not be out partying, but I will probably be playing Dreamcast. So hopefully I can see you then. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you another time.